Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, this is
Okay, great.
Is there a phone?
Not that I'm aware of. It's just myself, Janine.
Karen Myers is.
Okay, great. We will be starting momentarily. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda.
You do have 4 people.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Amanda. You're welcome. And then just don't forget when the sign should be done, and sit in the very corner. Otherwise, you'll just
Get a copy of the fine. I mean, personally talk with the supervisor. She was my vet. I know something they did. Give me a copy of the fine. Okay. I'm going. I'll copy the whole thing. So I'm sure he's thinking over it. Totally. Exactly. It doesn't do anything. That doesn't fucking do any good at all, right? And the thing is, no, I don't expect these kids to like really like this. So, another one here. Thank you. Fast, but I can't memorize it all right now. Okay.
What's up, man?
Fresh off the farm. Yeah, right enough to prove it. That's why most covenant is not right now.
I'm not sure.
I am trying. No, don't know how well we're doing.
That's what we've been
Trying.
Right.
I was thinking maybe today was but no, it's somebody put like 5-4 in there.
Right.
I'm going to steal an agenda.
I don't know.
Erica, is this you? Okay. I'm just taking an agenda.
Well, where that comes from, I mean, that has to be I know. We need more information. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't be there. It's not very easy. There's a lot more information. And I've been what? Maybe, okay, this might be it. Maybe that parcel is required to do that alone. And that this is part of
keep with this door open if it's okay. It's just getting hot. So we are going to start with some welcomes. Again, we have almost the same group as the other two meetings. I'm Polly Overton, the Cannabis Program Manager for Mendocino County. Hi. And we are going to put this person on the spot right here. We'll start with you and we'll go around.
Am I just introducing myself here?
Yes.
I'm Jen from Covelo.
Hey.
So,
Casey.
Hannah. Corinne.
Stuart.
Erica from County.
Sorry. Marvin.
Erin, Executive Coordinator, Julie Perrin, Associate. Julie Perrin.
Ron.
Cecilia.
Paul.
We have some people on the phone. Who's on the phone today?
Janine?
Hi.
Hi.
Anyone?
Karen Byers.
Warren. No.
And Crystal.
We can barely hear you, if at all. Who? Oh, hello. Okay. I'm walking around and I'll try to talk loud enough. You can hear me, but not too loud so everyone else is. We have kind of this is the fun group of the day. So, now we're going to get right to it. So as you know, and most of you have been involved, presentation for the Board of Supervisors is ready. It is on the agenda, the slides are loaded, et cetera, et cetera. It is of the highest quality. And I'm just going to sit down and let you, it's wonderful. Go process, however you want, you take charge, I'm going to sit.
So we have two documents for you guys. The first is our finalized recommended action letter. Thank you for everyone that gave input online. We took it all into consideration as we drafted it. But one element I did want to let everyone know is the extinguishment section that's brought up. We decided that's such a big topic that almost needed to be included separately as another recommendation because we need to keep this document down to, 2 pages, 3 pages. And that needs to be its own focus. So we admitted that, and I just wanted to let you know. We made a few added changes. I don't know that it's necessary to read this whole thing unless you're going to get us to do that right now. Or we could just cut to what we're asking for the recommended action. So.
I just wonder why Kelly left this one.
I guess I could just read. Maybe we'll just, go ahead. What do you think?
I think that, yes, we should just recap the findings in case somebody has any questions about them.
Okay. Okay, let's do that. So the findings, here is what we wrote. Under 900 applicants have applied for a cultivation permit in Mendocino County, a very small proportion of the actual number of cultivators. Lack of permit transferability is one of the significant barriers to participation in this program. 1. Negative impacts on business development, property values, and tax revenue. The provision in Section 10A17070K is an issue that affects the majority of existing permitted cultivators, as well as those considering coming into compliance. Business operators, banks, and investors are reluctant to make significant investments if there are no guarantees that the infrastructure and business investments will have longevity and sustainability for business development. Prohibits economic development for stable and sustainable business growth and taxation revenue the county could be receiving. It also reduces property values. Number 2, no impact to the mitigated negative declaration. Resolution number 17, project prepared by LACO, approved by the Board of Supervisors. I'm just going to simplify here. Impacted by a change or removal of Section 10A17 because it is not a California Environmental Quality Act consideration. Allowing ownership change will not create any new environmental impact, cultivation sites, or impact the baseline of cultivation acreage outlined in the MLD. Mary Lynn Hunt, senior planner and Ms. Burke with LACO, has confirmed that the MND does not include any concern or mention of permit ownership change, as this is not an environmental issue. Number 3, lack of flexibility. Commercial cannabis operators are the only Mendocino County business owners that don't have allowed to lease out their land but not hold a permit in their name any longer, whether due to illness or advancing age, business or career changes, and/or separation of joint partners. There needs to be a pathway to allow for new ownership based on these examples. New owners still have to meet continuing permit requirements. Number 4, land use has traditionally run with the land. In all cases except commercial cannabis operations, permitted land uses run with the land. Multiple state environmental agencies must review cultivation sites to determine if the land is suitable for cannabis cultivation based on a variety of very expensive and specific requirements. Cannabis sites should not be constrained differently than a vegetable farm, vineyard, orchard, dairy, hotel, warehouse, factory, or retail business, if we would foster stable and sustainable economic growth for our county. Number 5, sustainment in TPZ, L, and RL zones. Currently, parcels in TPZ, L, and RL are being phased out on June 30th, 2018. 57% of available parcels included in the MMD
recommendation will be in terms of what type of permitting you would be required, or what kind of changes might happen to a general plan, things like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So go call Mary Lynn and talk to her.
it's usually better if she knows ahead of time, so she doesn't have to, like, kind of think off the top of her head, and I would suggest that as a good gesture. To email this to Mary Lynn and just say, we're recommending number 3, we thought planning might want to see that, do you have any comments? I think it would be better on the fly.
What we're trying to do is get the discussion going, and we know that there's going to be a lot of specifics to make something happen. So we're trying to bring this to the attention of the board that this needs to be discussed. We're not qualified to fully make a full ordinance change.
Well, definitely not. And what typically happens is they'll read this and then they'll go straight to asking staff, can we do this? How do we do this?
And so if she has a heads up ahead of time.
Just go to Mary Lynn.
Yeah, I would just give her a heads up, hey, this is,
If you're on page 3, item number 3.
yeah,
Could you just take a moment to look at that
and know it's coming before the board on Tuesday.
What comment is that I was here when Mary Lynn Hunt was here, and I brought up the topic of this, and she said this is not done how it's normally done, and it's normally done with the land use permit.
It usually is, well, it usually is frankly a use permit. Like that's, and those with the land, not the person. But it doesn't have to be that way, but just heads up, like Leah said, I think it will go smoother if the board does ask planning a question and they know.
And my, I mean, obviously it's not going to be ready for the phase, but if we give a little bit of time into what some of this could be, because from the process it seems to be fairly simple. Field planning, environmental health, anything that the water board or Fish and Wildlife is making you do for culverts, that kind of thing on your property, that's all with the properties. The rest of it basically is with the owner of it. So it's really that hard to specify that these, just for the people that department doing their process, if they separated out into those 2 originally, then it could be just a checklist that then each year when they're reviewing it, like, okay, did they finish this? Finish land use stuff? Okay, that's done anyway. So if somebody needed to change that permit, it's already something that's being done every year by the inspectors when they come back to their yearly thing. Is okay, did they finish their compliance on changing everything in the PDF? Did they finish everything with the building and planning?
I think the intent behind this cultivation land use certificate or land use permit, whatever you call it, is that once you've received it, it runs with land and it's designated for generally 10 years. So then that's like what we're hoping to get. It's like this extra stamp.
Yeah, it's like a normal industrial building will have a use permit for certain activities, and when it changes owners, they won't have to renew. I think that's the concept, right?
Exactly what we want to do.
And you want to make it optional so that some farms may not have the ability to afford this or whatever. If it's an optional route, if you want to get that added extra stamp of approval, then maybe you get it.
In recommendation number 1, it says the permit may only be transferred to a new permit fee if the compliance conditions on the policy remain the same as when originally permitted. For instance, I decide I want to become a micro business and I want to start growing 2,500 square feet. But then this year, I have to expand in order to keep my head above water, so I expand to 10,000, which is allowable. Would I get back to the 2,500?
No, we're just talking about like the compliance conditions
On the original permit, their annual permit, so we can't say, okay.
By original permit rather than current permit.
Well, their annual permit.
Yeah, I think he's got a good, in terms of how Matt Kudrowski might interpret this.
Yeah.
And there's another item in that same paragraph that I was a little concerned about how Matt would potentially interpret, and that's, the application, receipt and permit in good standing for 2 years from the earliest issued date of approval, but they're interpret that as the final permit issued rather than the embossed receipt.
Yep.
But the embossed receipt is an approval. Maybe we should do the same thing and do it with Matt along with Mary Lynn.
Yeah, because I think the permit's easier to fly
if I
than a
could finish my
receipt.
sentence, if the intent was to go back to the embossed receipt, then the way to fix that is by saying the earliest issued date of preliminary approval, and then in parentheses embossed receipt, because because I promise you, if you're not clear about that, he is going to interpret it as the final permit, even though I totally appreciate that the intent was to not.
Okay. And we didn't want to specify it, so maybe if you contact Mary Lynn, I'll contact Matt. I'll specifically address that issue with him, with his wife.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't make any more changes to this document, but we could talk about it in discussion during public comment, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're not attorneys, so we did the best we could to write this, but of course it's gonna have to get vetted through the county and, but just having this discussion, I think, is important.
No, it's really important. It's just that if it's framed in this way,
Yeah.
then
We hear
that's
you.
how they're gonna
We hear you.
Okay.
So I think that in the oral presentation, we can specifically say, this means this, and I will send an email to Matt saying, this means this, do you have any comments?
And the original also as
And what you're bringing up is a really good point about if somebody wanted to expand, like, the intent wouldn't be that
They get a new permit.
By then.
They get a new permit.
Making sure that the original compliance conditions remains the same.
You have to get a new, you have to reply to expand, get a new.
That wouldn't make you knowledgeable. So, I mean, do you think that language, the way it's written, is protecting people in situations?
no.
I think that I'm not an attorney, but
I am.
think it's.
I don't think it protects them.
I just want to say that this was one section that we had a lot of discussion about, and we had compromised as a group. And I had some issues with this particular paragraph, including the 2 years. In fact, why we're making it 2 years, with the group, we discussed it. And also the language about it meeting the same conditions. I thought that was ambiguous, but we had to move on as a group.
1,078 parcels included in the Phase 1 baseline. Number 2 shows the general plan, the definition under agricultural land. It says, and this one's really interesting, those land areas of the county specifically classified and zoned as agricultural, rangeland, forest land, or timberland preserve within which agricultural, timber growing, and related activities are to be encouraged and protected. Mendocino County General Plan defines the land, and Prop 64 defines cannabis cultivation as agriculture, and therefore is an appropriate use in FLCCP and rangeland as defined, encouraged and protected by our county general plan. So we just want to drive home that narrative to the board. The next slide indicates, so what we did is we took the rangeland, forest land, and TPZ properties for the available parcels, and we added all of those up, and that's what got us to the 15,572 parcels. And currently with the numbers, we have 362 applications that are either issued and approved or still pending. That doesn't include the withdrawn or removed. So that's TPZ, rangeland, and forest land. And if you divide that number of applications over the amount of parcels that are available for that, it equals 0.023%. And we'll want to indicate on available resource land parcels. And this figure is based on one permit per parcel, but we do know that there could be a situation where someone has 2 permits on one parcel, and therefore that number would actually be reduced even further. So we just want to showcase that. The next slide shows, so then the next one, this is the really big one. We went and found out what the total potential acreage of cannabis cultivation with our Mendocino County cultivation program is. Now we're sitting at 191.77 total acres for the county. And here's the way we figured it out. Right, have 182 approved and issued permits. And at the end of the chart, you'll notice a little graph. And so what we did is we took all of the different permit size, the 22,000 for nursery, 10,000 square foot, 5,000, and 2,500. Figured out how many of those were, how much square footage that equaled, and then converted it into acreage, which gave us 42.78 acres of approved issued permits. We still have 649 pending applications that have not been authorized yet, and don't have the data, unfortunately, because of the software applications. Know exactly how many of those are applying for 5,000 and 2,500. So what we decided, let's just do a maximum of the 10,000 square foot cultivation permit. That equals 6.49 million square feet. We went ahead and converted into acres, and that equaled 148.9 acres. So you take that number and you add it to the already approved and issued permit of 42.78. You get a total of 191.77 potential licensed acreage in our
And parcels that are bigger than, parcel sizes that are bigger than that.
Excellent.
It is, isn't it?
Which is ironic.
This is the number that we really want the board to have stick in their mind. That's saying under 200 acres in our entire county is being cultivated with this program. Is everyone, and I'm even saying that the 649 applicants are all getting approved.
Right.
At the large.
Nurseries are not
How many acres are in Mendocino County?
We're going to the next slide.
Don't worry, they have an answer. 1.7.
You want to reference back to our mitigated negative declaration, phase 1 table, and based on that, there is a current, or there is a 1,788,052 total acres, and with that from the 191.77. So here's the kicker. What's the percentage of cultivation that's happening in our county? 0.0000102%.
And that is all of those.
And if everyone became permitted. So that's secret. Okay, then the next slide. This is the cannabis acreage compared to vineyards in our county. We 191 acres of total cannabis cultivation is a minuscule amount if compared to the 2016 report of 16,375 acres of vineyard cultivation in Mendocino County. The economic decline
licensed cannabis production on those lands. And this is where our group stopped today in our dialogue, so we're going to figure out some more talking points behind this, and if anyone has something to say that we could add to it.
And we'll have the most current vineyard acreage at the presentation. I just talked to them and they said they'd be happy to provide it.
Next slide is the real estate data for Mendocino County. These numbers were based on 2016 through 2018. So we're going to have a realtor from Pueblo present on this data, and I don't know exactly how to interpret this chart as much as she does, so she's going to give us that information. So I'm going to kind of give over, but it's interesting. The numbers are declining. There's parcels going up for sale, but things aren't selling, and it just reflects the market of where we're at right now in the county. The next slide is showing the Mendocino County cannabis tax and fees. This came from Claire Duquette's presentation at the board meeting on last Tuesday.
We have, just quick, the latest projections we're getting from the auditor is that the cannabis tax is down approximately negative 44.4%. So negative 44.4%, which in dollars is $758,309, which she tends to be a little conservative. So I would say that we're probably at close to $1 million, depending on this last quarter.
That is down?
No, so it's down it's projected to be down $758,349. And it tends to be very conservative with its projections. So I think we'll be lucky I think we might hit $1 million, but around 950 would be my guess.
So what do you
What I attributed to that is we're not making any money off cultivation. All the money is coming from retail.
But what are you telling us the revised numbers are based on this slide? If you could
But if you look at
let the committee know what the committee's not understanding what you're telling us.
So we estimated the tax to bring $1.7 million. So Lloyd is saying that it's below projection by 44.4%.
The number that she
Can you tell me what your
Oh, I have to look it up. So this is projections I was just getting in via an email. Would mean that the tax is down $58,349. So that means we're going to bring in less than $1 million. And then 100.
So 766, it goes to 758.
It's 1.7 million minus 758,349 will give us the actual number.
Exactly.
That's different than the 756.
So we'll probably end the year around 950,000, and we projected 1.7.
Yeah.
Though I think that 950 could maybe go up to $1 million, depending on this last quarter.
I'd just like to point out, my wife went through the hairdresser in Ukiah 2 weeks ago, and she had a long conversation with the hairdresser, and she said their salon business is down 50%. I'm very familiar with all the growers, and she said people going under right and left.
And the taxes coming in from the facility side, so the retail outlets, flat taxes from the other permit types, and most of the cultivators are just paying the minimum. The reason I don't think it's meaning is the revenue's not being realized on the cultivation side, where what we projected for retail is a little bit more on point.
Wait, it's not being realized on the retail side. I don't know where you
So we took our tax ordinance based on averages of what we're seeing at retail level.
what you're getting.
Yeah, so we made assumptions and estimates on what we thought we would get in revenue from retail outlets, what we thought we would get in revenue from flat tax ones, and what we thought we'd get in revenue from cultivation. And cultivation is performing very poorly. The retail and the other license types are a bit more stable and more close to what we originally anticipated.
Is the business tax inclusive of cultivation business and non-cultivation business?
It's the whole tax ordinance.
Whereas the program fee is just the ag permit fee. Okay, so is there any way to get a breakdown of cannabis business tax between non-cultivation versus cultivation? And we can
Probably not in time for the meeting, no. So the retail would come out of Thomson Reuters system in Sherry's office, and I think that would take time to do a report.
So maybe you should specify.
But I'm tracking what I'm seeing coming in. I mean, it's forming, but it's not surprising because
Well, we got rid of
Not
the
surprising.
minimum for 2017 for cultivation.
and there's probably some reductions too for fire damaged farms, and, but you know, it all adds up.
A little bit every day because people are coming in and paying payments.
And I think the talking point on this is, and I don't know if it helps, but to bring up that if we had more pro businesses, we'd have more distribution, therefore we would have more money coming in, because farmers can't sell. I mean, that is just a huge thing. And so that the board's not looking at all these people aren't paying to hit home that reality of why.
That was good for you to say in public comment.
So I'm sorry I was late, but is microbusiness and the coast on the agenda for today's meeting?
Microbusiness is on for Tuesday, but, it's possibly been, yet again.
No, for this meeting here now. Okay, because I'd like to put it on the agenda.
Well, it's next Tuesday.
Recommendations, but the public noticing was incorrect, so the noticing of the ordinance won't happen until the 22nd.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's the third time that's happened, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not joking.
So is that by omission
So the
or
first
commission?
reading was supposed to be on the 8th, but the public notice did not go to the paper on the right date, so that throws it off. So the first reading won't be till the 22nd. I'm sure that they're,
So really, everybody, is this omission or commission at this point?
yes,
So,
building.
I knew it, that the meeting's not going to be
we don't mess up public notice, so sorry.
I knew it. So maybe
No,
my
I
goodness.
must determine this now. No.
I mean, that's the second time in a row.
But this,
No, we learned that the microbusiness.
Well, you've been around enough.
no.
Twice from Phil County.
We're not having hibachi.
This,
Have more tax revenue.
I'll bring that up. What we're doing,
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't
we'll
think
come
we should
back.
put in our.
Right now, we're still, let's regroup, everyone. Yeah.
And maybe for our talking point in this slide specifically, we should outline that the cannabis business tax includes cultivation and non-cultivation, activities.
I think that's
Is this your permit?
And the next two slides just kind of show it more in a graph form, and then
You
the
want like
negative
cane.
from,
That's what they're asking for.
how do I say this?
Yes. Makes sense.
What they thought what they would get, what they actually got, and how it's been affected.
I can tie that into the lack of
I told them that they were
getting paid again.
tell us this, so they were all that.
Good. If we would have had this hearing earlier, microbusiness would be going, it would be selling, we would have that now.
Good.
As opposed to every delay of this microbusiness.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So the next slide, we just wanted to kind of give a comparison of our small 10,000 square feet of cultivation we're allowed compared to what people are doing in other counties. So we got a photo of some large scale cultivation happening in Santa Barbara and a 10,000 square craft cultivation in Mendocino County on a 40-acre parcel. The 40 acres is outlined by the regular box, and then on the slideshow you'll see a nice red mark indicating the actual 10,000 square foot garden site.
Is that more outdoor in the whole time?
It's outdoor. It's actually Stewart.
Yeah, I know that place.
So all these greenhouses are indoor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
Barbara.
potentially.
And how many acres is this? Am I looking?
Oh, you know, I didn't get that. I just pulled this off of the
Well,
internet.
No.
A lot.
Give an impact, visual impact.
Yes, visually.
Yeah, the photos are different, it's hard to know the
I'm just
scale.
wondering about the scale.
I agree.
I know. We were desperate to get images, and I really did my best to do outreach to the public through Mendocino Action and networking, and it was hard to get images from people. So.
Get authorization.
Yeah, authorization. The next one, this is talking about land use permit, circling back to that concept. It provides security for investing in business sustainability and infrastructure investments, and they're typically given for, and then it's listing all the different types. In Mendocino County, there is no land use permit or designation for cannabis cultivation to support investment in the land use.
I love the little pictures that you
It looks much better than I saw it.
Oh, I bet.
And all the animation.
Oh, animation.
And
it says it all. I think that you really
Nailed it.
nailed it.
Just read it verbatim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And the next one, licensed cannabis cultivation has the highest level of environmental scrutiny in agriculture. And I pulled some quotes from a few agencies, one the Mendocino River, a conservation director, as well as an environmental care manager from the state water board. And their quotes really just capture this entire concept of the scrutiny that cannabis is under. The damage from cannabis cultivation is associated with so-called trespass grows on national forests and timberlands that feature some of the most egregious environmental offenses against wildlife and water. Are we missing that? And, are you on it? Oh, it's just supposed to take. Did we take out the legal and illegal side? Nope, they're coming up. I don't have it on that. Okay. And again, outlining how the environmental concerns that are our pushback, they're always saying, you know, this is egregious stuff, and it's like, well, that's actually trespass growth. We're not talking about permitted cultivation sites, so we really want to differentiate that.
So on that, this is just an awesome document. If this will maybe just in product, you might want to also share that it's the position of the environmental program manager that a cannabis plant growing in a raised bed or a smart pot is disturbed earth, whereas a cucumber plant or a tomato plant is not disturbed earth.
And their
lavender plants?
their definition of disturbed earth is something that could potentially increase turbidity in the water. My position, or our position, would be that a smart or a raised bed would be more protecting the soil from disturbance.
You know, which goes to, you know, equal. Cannabis growers will be assessed with seeds for plants or debate, whereas the tomato or the cucumber or lemon farmer isn't. So,
How would I phrase that then as a talking point? I don't think we should this be, I don't think we should. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And then the second quote was, growers required to report to their respective regional water board as part of the permit conditions. For example, if a cannabis cultivator just graded a site in compliance with the policy requirements, they would need to identify what they are doing to stabilize it and prevent sediment runoff and get approval from the regional water board. This is a quote to let everyone know that has those fears. People can't grade roads and do all that stuff. They really have to get approval. So, really want to insert this because we know we're going to have the anti-people this environmental stuff, so we have to cover it.
I wish I had saved it. Should have read to me one of these letters to the editor from the Sonoma newspaper. Where this was talking about someone having an indoor grow next to them. I remember. And she estimated that over a year, because they're doing it indoors, because she heard it uses so much water per day, so many gallons per day, that they'll be using 90 million gallons of water per year. Yeah, it was whatever. Yeah.
So for water use, the document that Dan Schultz is working over estimates, is it 6 or 16?
That was Dan Schultz, that was
Bauer. Yeah. So the percent is that, again, you know, harkening back to illegal growth cartels, that unbelievable amount of water is being used. But these are not aquatic plants, and yet that's the perception. So for public comment, we may want to speak to that.
The biggest thing from all people when I talk about Muller a lot is the Board of Supervisors meeting, and then with the out people. That was their biggest concern, that they were going to drive the wells and watersheds and kill the salmon.
I apologize if I missed this at the beginning, but after we're through with this, will we be creating at least somebody who's going to put together a series of talking points? Those of us who are there, that's right, because we got your back. You know, you don't have to say everything in the PowerPoint. We'll get there. Not for worry.
Oh, you mean, let you cover what outside of the presentation.
That's what we're doing right now.
I see. Thank you.
And Stuart has a whole group that he's in charge of that.
Great.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. This one is the agencies involved in the cultivation permit process. as many as we could. And the reason why we want to bring this up is money to go through many of these agencies to get this.
There's one important one that's left off,
Oh, which one?
CBPFA,
yeah.
the California Department of Taxation and Fee Administration.
Was there some emails that report?
Yeah.
No, you have local tax, but the state tax.
Okay, well, we can say that in all.
Yeah,
I take both.
yeah, so it's, there's CFA.
Formerly known as the
BOE.
And we can just add that, okay.
The art formerly known as.
You know, it might be good as a percentage to show just how small a percentage is actually the county that we have to deal with, but the majority of it is state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, how to put this puzzle piece together, the big concept of transferability is like all of this investment we have to make in properties. These are mostly environmental agencies.
Well, remember, that's how we got to this. You wanted to find out how much environmental scrutiny,
Oh, yeah.
It was.
right?
Environmental
Environmental scrutiny.
Okay, so what should my notes be on that then? Environmental,
Let's talk about that over the
Yeah.
weekend.
okay.
You know, one of the things.
State and local regulations require an intensive amount of investment into your property and your business.
And what's nice is you've got the live scan there, because that can let people know that it's no longer people you don't know coming. These people have been vetted who are coming to work at these properties.
Okay, and then we'll go to the last two slides. We wanted to just give a visual of the non-compliant and the legal cultivation site looks like. So we pulled some images from Julia. Was some of those images from CDS?
This is a CDS, I'm cleaning up a CDS, right?
There's two of them from that, and then the other two were some I got off the internet. And I tried to find things in Mendocino County. And then have a compliant permitted cultivation site. These are in Mendocino County. And then the live color, it's got flowers, and you can see people aren't just cultivating rose cannabis, they also are putting companion plants, and everything's really beautiful.
When did you guys provide the pictures amongst yourself?
Yeah.
If
It's incredible, you guys. I go around it.
Which ones are animated?
You'll see. Just a little bit.
What is the format going to be? So this is an agenda item?
what will happen is Callie will open up the item and say, you know, the board developed these working groups, and the working groups are here to make recommendation. This working group has been working on this recommendation, and we have so-and-so here to present. And then it's, so I would say try to keep the presentation to 15 minutes, and then it will go back to the chair, and the chair will probably either ask staff questions or open it up straight to public comment.
And we also talked about,
We were thinking that we weren't really going to talk much about the document of the recommended action because of the limited time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we should read that into the record.
What, this document?
No.
It's not very long.
That
Will be
2
part of the
pages?
public record.
We don't have time.
Oh,
we don't have to.
that's, don't.
Okay.
So here's what we were gonna do, is that when Kelly did his thing,
So that,
hold on, and these girls went up, the rest of us were gonna pass that document down each aisle,
Right.
to pass it to everybody, so they had it.
because the board has that now.
And they have
So do you?
Yes, those 2 are attachments to the agenda item, so the agenda publishes today, so those will be live. What I would do is I would start in reference at the beginning and say, included in your packet today is the working group's formal recommendation.
Which is being passed out right
Then
now.
do your presentation, and I would circle back at the very end, the last page on there, and say, these are our recommendations. So the part I would focus on after your presentation is your recommendations, not reading this, because you're kind of in a different way presenting that in the presentation of your reasoning.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I got a text from Janine saying that she can't hear anything.
Again, is it, what time? Okay, yeah, that's why I was walking in and out. Thanks.
So then to the last slide, maybe, or not slide, but at the very end, then we can say, and so our recommended action, which you will find in your packet, and then just read the 4 items. goes into the record and.
Because I want to say this item's projected for 30 minutes.
Oh, good.
So you know.
Does that include other public comment period, or is that just for us to present?
No, that's the whole thing. We'll go over, yes. Okay. Inevitable, but that's why I'd say, you know, you're allotted 30 minutes, so, you know, I would make sure that your actual presentation is around 15 minutes, because they can just say,
That's it.
okay.
And our hope that if we have 30 minutes total, like, you know, get it down to 10 minutes to speak, so that we have all that public comment to back up all of this, and testimony, and people's own experiences and what's going through it.
I would suggest that then what you do is you actually say at the end of your presentation, if you have enough time, if the timing looks like it would work out, you know, we respectfully request the board to hear some public comments on this before entering into discussion. Okay. Because otherwise, what happens is they start talking about it, and then it goes off.
You know, they share, so,
I don't think we should. I think at the end it'll all happen. Could we back up just for a second? Because I know that every time I've sat there for a report from staff, they have gone through their memo, and they go through it laboriously. And it's not really until that point in time that most of the supervisors are paying any attention. That at the very least, we should go through the bolded bullet points of our findings. You don't want to talk about the whole thing. We've got to set the scene, or otherwise, looking at these pretty pictures, but it's not focused.
I agree. I think you're really right about the findings in particular, because some of them will have read it, and some of them inevitably will not have.
So then how would we word that, because the findings we kind of, you know, like a sentence, it's more of a blurb.
It only took you like 5 or 10 minutes.
I'll be happy to introduce the topic.
Okay.
I'll be happy to be the first introductory commenter from the subcommittee. And part of my general remarks, and I promise I won't be too cantankerous, will be to include these bullet points so that they are then thinking your slides and your presentation will support. These are the main points as to why we're bringing this forward.
You might want to set the scene, have that as 5 minutes, then the presentation as 10 minutes, then the recommendations as 5 minutes, which brings you to 20. Then
I have a problem with a couple things. First of all, I think we absolutely should read it into the record. I absolutely agree with what you were saying about getting their attention, getting them to focus on us instead of the staff all the time, to the extent that they do that even. But to read just the bullet points only doesn't even indicate what argument is being made around, or explication is made around each of those bullet points. It's unclear. So that doesn't really do it.
But I think she's about reading the whole section.
Yeah, you read just the bullet.
Well, I want to do whatever you guys agree, but I think we need to have this as an introduction.
In a way, I agree with that part. The question is how much of this you're going to read.
Well, I think
frankly, one way to do that is that catches attention when you're dealing with a very difficult and long and detailed. I get the point about, you know, is it really too much to read in? To have two readers and very quickly go back and forth after each one. You one, somebody, next person reads 2, 3, 4.
Just
it really is a much better delivery system.
Prepare for for the glaze. Because
Go straight to the presentation.
you know, that's why I'm like, if you can synthesize your main points in the document into 1 or 2 sentences and move along quickly, then go to the presentation where they have pictures and something to engage with, because you've seen it all.
Well, I
go
agree.
like this.
I agree with you. If we would take this, and I'd be happy to do it, and instead of reading this whole lengthy thing, you take your point
it's in the record,
instead of reading the whole lengthy thing, you take the
It's in the record.
topic.
Meet this weekend and talk about what you're talking about, and
All you have to do is write 2 sentences that captures the argument.
I agree.
That's it.
Because, I mean, I wouldn't spend more than 5 minutes on 10 minutes on the presentation and 5 minutes on the finding. You don't want to your audience.
It's a powerful thing, not a thing in which they glaze over.
Right.
Not a thing that gets ignored. We got to find that medium ground.
The third time on it, what should we do then?
Just said 5.
I think you can probably take each section and really synthesize it into a powerful statement and go bullet by bullet more with your, that would, we need to take something that would take, how long did it take you to read this, 10 minutes? 15 minutes?
Not in time.
10
Figure it out, we'll figure it out.
Cut in half.
Our dress rehearsal.
We can make it punchy and hit the points clearly in 7 minutes. I used to read the library all the time. We should use that.
And I wouldn't use presentation from planning and county council and they go through memos as your example of how to do a presentation. I wouldn't use and Coco's method of presenting memos as a example of how you should do a presentation.
I agree.
So what Sarah said was spend the 5 minutes introducing it, go 10 to 15 minutes in the presentation with the pictures, and then 5 minutes with the findings. And we can work on the bullet point with the sentence or two afterwards. We can do that.
You can almost too, you can kind of see the toss, you know, and so, and the changing people I think will help them keep engaged because, you know, the risk of reading things in one person talking and getting bogged down in lawyerly language.
Would it be too chaotic to assign each of the one findings to a different person? We have enough people.
I wouldn't do that because
and we want to keep it to the subcommittee that knows the inside now.
This, I could write these in 10 minutes, write up those bullet points of what the powerful statement is and make it a whole new fight.
Then you can start here and then go over the presentation.
I just need a digital version.
If you do it.
I need a digital version.
Any other feedback or input that people want to give right now that they want to have look at or hope it'll win, you guys.
Who's going to do the recommended action? Who's going to do that?
We haven't decided the actual part of it.
Those two are doing all the verbal stuff. The rest of us are passing stuff out.
I hear that Stuart was aggregating the talking points.
Yeah.
We're going to work on the talking points and then I'm going to send it to all the different groups. So we can each claim one? Yeah, I mean, you have part of it now, so choose your weapon, but I highly recommend that you not talk about the micro license, even though it's very...
Yeah, don't.
We need to
stay on topic.
Yes.
We got to hit the bullseye, and if you dilute it with other subjects, it's not going to be effective.
And you risk...
To meet up at the hallway before the meeting and decide who's actually doing what, talking points, or...
Yeah, we're trying to work on that.
Give us the time. I know it's going to change, but we have...
When does that schedule come out?
What time are you talking?
I want to say it's probably the afternoon. Usually after the agenda is published, the clerk will put together
An
estimated time because if it's an on-timed item, the board could at any time change the order. So,
But if ours is timed, then it's...
yours is not timed.
Okay, we'll be at 9. I'm going to bring support signs to the audience. We have flyers that are going to go up in Ukiah and Coppola and anyone wants to these to put around places.
So one of the suggestions that I have is that people, this one that's on your plan, that we actually make some signs and that people come in the room with it. Because it's so potent about FL, TPZ, and RF that it's in the general plan that makes forever culture. And that people should go around and just say, this is anyway, I think that this would be a very important thing.
If I have time, I'll try to make some time.
Well, I think
But I just want to also echo the staying on topic. Because the more you go off, you risk them also going off and talking about other things. So I think it's really right on to be really precise. We're here to talk about this and stay on topic because I think you're more likely to have a conversation than stay and not kind of veer off into other issues because we are talking about micro businesses at the in that afternoon as well. No, it's on the agenda. They just can't they're bringing the item forward for discussion and for recommendation, but they can't have it as a first reading. It's still on the agenda, so the board could give direction and change things in that ordinance, but it's not a first reading.
So we can speak to it.
Yeah, actual agenda item for
okay, I misunderstood.
It was originally supposed to be a first reading, second reading on the 22nd, but because of the noticing, they're still taking the item, it's just not a first reading, so theoretically, there's still time for them to change things before the ordinance comes back.
Because they deleted the last time it was noticed improperly.
Yeah, they skipped it, especially because they had so much on the agenda, and I fear
Mhm.
that's what will happen this time, because there is a lot on the agenda, and I don't know whether overlay group is presenting or not. What happened with the, I'm just kind of curious. That's a huge topic, and when, we don't know when that's actually even coming up. I thought it was supposed to come up this May.
I have to look.
Last meeting was kind of.
The agenda should be out, but yeah, this is a packed meeting, but not as packed as, because second and the fourth and the fifth all budget, so we'll have cannabis for a while.
I am. Okay. So as far as this, again, the presentation, all this, just wonderful job, guys. Wonderful. It sounds like you're going to be talking amongst yourself over the weekend, kind of getting together what. Okay. All right. So other, the dreaded or celebrated other on an agenda, we have a few minutes, which has been all encompassing for a few meetings. Is there stuff we want to bring up? Where are we going next?
Kelly, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, there's a couple hands. I've never seen. Hi.
I have something I want to talk about, you know what I'm going to talk about, at the meeting, and I don't want to, bring away any attention from what you're doing. So what I want to figure out is how can I get my name in there, like at the end of all the other names?
Update.
Huh?
CANA update, public comment on the CANA update. Which Kelly made.
When I'm there and the statistics, and I will actually, Trent Taylor will be with me.
Okay.
So it's kind of, here's your statistics, here's what we're doing, et cetera.
It's about the program in general, so that you can make a public comment.
Yeah.
It may not relate to specifically what they presented, it's about the program in general,
Yes.
so that would be an appropriate thing to put your, speak card in and come up and say whatever it is that you want to say.
Okay, I'm still not getting it though. Do I write something on the form or do I do it at a certain time?
So public speaking, you fill out a public speaker card, and then you write the agenda items that you're wanting to make public comment on. And this case, if you're taking this suggestion, which is to do it in the CANA update, you just write during the cannabis update, cannabis program update, and then when the presentation is done, the chair usually says, is there any public comment on this issue? You could also do it if it's related to amendments, if you're hearing any amendments. Right, so there will be an agenda item on cannabis amendments, so just refer to that agenda item number and speak during public comment on that.
Agenda is, in the very beginning, there's public comment for items that are on agenda. And then the agenda and say, how it's all.
Okay. We're done with that part. I wanted to introduce something that I think is very important, not just for the land use, this is splendid, it's the best thing I think we've ever seen, but very quickly to get everyone's feedback about the whole process of getting responsiveness from the Board of Supervisors, from the county. It seems that for many people, I don't know if any of you have seen the thing I sent out this morning, which was a transcription of a section of the April 10th Board of Supervisors meeting. And that section was notable in the sense that it was, and I don't know, again, with elected officials, you never know if they're speaking for public consumption in the video, just to go on record as being in our favor, or if they really are serious about their words. But I take them at face value, because we've been meeting repeatedly with Dan Jurdy for months and months over on the coast, talking about the coastal zone, talking about micro businesses, talking all of this sort of thing, and then you get some action, and you get some little off-record meetings in the hallway with Nash Gonzalez and Dan. You get little bits and pieces of that, but you don't get real substantive policy change. So I wanna read this, and then I would like some feedback on how we translate all the hard work we put into this for months and months and months into getting real action and policy change, on the county level. So this, the 10, and, Dan Jurdy says, it was about, Kelly's report on what has and hasn't been accomplished in cannabis, compliance and permitting. The distribution system is adding a huge cost. This is one reason people are seeking micro-business licenses. It's more pronounced on the coast. Long-time dispensaries all in the coastal zone because that's where commercial zones are. And the county is grappling with when to apply for a coastal zone amendment. And it hasn't gotten to that point yet. How do businesses expect to have, say, distribution licenses or manufacturing license? I think if someone were to drive between Fort Bragg and Mendocino and see two of long-time dispensaries, they might think it's on commercial. They might think it's on land-zoned light industrial. Nearby, there are long-time businesses like light storage structures, which are often seen by the public as light industrial zoning districts. So I personally think that, given their track record, we would see very little, if any, opposition from their neighbors if there was a use permit available to them. I think we can move forward on a coastal plan amendment. Maybe targeted pretty narrowly on that, and maybe one or two other issues. Because again, these are the things that I hear would make it viable for all businesses. And back to the distribution license. The very few businesses out there that have a distribution license, they're imposing fairly high fees. That's going to squeeze the cultivators, eliminate their profit margin. It's going to squeeze everybody in the business if local long-standing businesses can't get those licenses. There needs to be a way out. We have to figure out how to address those issues. Dan Hamburg. I certainly share Supervisor Jurdy's concern that we get an LCP, local coastal plan, on the coast, because it's actually a huge problem right now. To Ken Overton, do you see these requests as reasonable, and will you be bringing the working group issues back to the board? Kelly, they are reasonable requests. I certainly am hearing the desire to extend the deadline, and I think that is critical. Hamburg, I know you're working with some other people, P&B, Planning and Building, County Council. This would be a clear conduit, meaning the Board of Supervisors, to have these things come back and actually get decided on, and policy actually gets changed. Kelly, absolutely. We're ready to proceed with some of these in weeks and months. That's okay. McCowan says, then McCowan gets going, and he takes it a whole step further. I concur with Superintendent Jurdy's comments. None of these are new issues. The board gave direction March 15, 2017, I believe, that we want staff to move 16, but then he refers to the fires happening in the following fall, so I got confused. It could be 16, yeah. They wanted staff to move forward developing regulations for the coastal zone. That year, we gave direction that we wanted to have a consultant hired to do that work because it was obvious at that time our staff didn't have the capacity, and of course the fires hit and all the rest. Now, I'm wondering, with regard to the business types, why do we need anything from the Coastal Commission? Those business types weren't described in our codes because they didn't exist when the code was adopted. There are many uses that are not spelled out in our code. So when it came up a year ago, we didn't have anything for a pellet manufacturing facility, and this happens all the time. So staff looks at the codes and the permits and the rules for permits and decides what is this most like, what's it similar to. And they process it on that basis. Even though it's not called out in the codes, I'm ready to say that in most cases, the cannabis-related businesses, why aren't we following the same practice? And it's nothing new. I mean, I've said before, distribution is distribution. Processing is processing. One potential difference could be manufacturing, if you're using a volatile process maybe, but even there you would go, okay, that looks like this. They're going to need a use permit. But it's just distribution, just processing, just testing. Why don't we process the application on that basis? Here it's like in the codes. We could start tomorrow. Jurdy, I would second that interpretation. Hamburg, yeah, I like that interpretation too. Okay, Kelly, I think you've got your marching orders. McCowan, yeah, within his purview, serious discussion needs to take place within staff. Why can't we just do this? So this remains fluff for public consumption unless we hold them to it.
So this was 2 meetings ago. Okay? So there was a meeting after that.
I know.
And at that meeting, you do know. Okay, Mary Lynn and Matt were up with me, and they answered questions specifically, all right, about this. And and they're bringing some more information back.
So you're gonna,
We're, all right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's good, that's good.
so they are exploring it, and this is a commitment to find out how we can do what we can do, but the issue with the Coastal Commission is going to make some things move slowly. It really is. So, but we are committed to seeing if there are things we can do now, and this is why Mary Lynn and Matt back, let's do those. We are exploring and hoping that there are. But it's more complicated, maybe.
Well.
And I know this is a personal, you know,
No, personal thing.
I mean,
I think everybody in this room knows that I don't just stand for personal trouble.
okay.
I am sure that it's just that whole thing about, everyone has told us it's more complicated, and Macau, I think, did quite a good job of explaining how it's not that complicated. I think this is very tied in with microbusinesses, it's tied in with a lot of what we're looking for, in all the working group issues. And I think what the theme here is, it's not Coastal Commission, it's not microbusinesses, it's not transferability. The theme here is effecting policy change. That's what we're looking for.
And the 3 board members said, and that's the majority of the board, so it's almost like a vote.
It is, yeah.
So
The directive.
So how does
A
that,
directive for
how does
sure.
it translate into real change?
Yeah, so what,
It's convincing at least one supervisor to take it on. Well, to bring it back up, so one of the things that I've been in the habit of trying to do now is to contact Chair Hamburg in advance of the meeting and ask him, first off, in terms of timing of issues, that we're not at the end of the day because people have no tolerance. Number 2, maybe you all saw the memo that I put out last night, just to everybody just saying, hey, could you please make sure that these topics are included? And that way, if they're not remembering to follow up and loop back around on things that are kind of midstream, that they have some reminder from us or request to please follow up. But I would encourage, if there's any way to get together with your supervisor and get a commitment from them to bring the issue back up, because it's really them that has to bring it back, and staff, partly because staff is so overloaded with so many things, are really not going to be able to bring something back on their own unless directed. It's a very passive
And
I completely agree.
board
Yeah,
members,
that's it, we met with them.
Right.
the board members can bring their own items.
Yeah.
No, we know
But it's hard to get
repeatedly.
It is. They don't.
And there's something to be said about, I'll just bring this up in terms of cannabis updates. Times more good cannabis updates than is what really should be happening for the Brown Act. So a lot of times in terms of directive and direction of, cannabis updates, give me an update on a program.
No,
But you know what I'm saying?
But
it
it's not
spirals.
true. Legally, that's not true.
It sometimes spirals out of control and it gets out of the frame of what's being
But I'm
agendized.
just letting you know that legally that's not accurate. I understand what you're saying in terms of they're wanting to rein stuff in, but legally that's not actually accurate because the cannabis update is about the entire program and what's going on. So it's
You take that one up with county council and clerk.
I know.
Because there is a difference of opinion. But I would say, if you can meet with your supervisors, they can themselves agendize an item.
All right, we've got hands, we're still in the guys, we're still in the meeting, so we're gonna go by hands, we have several,
Are you planning to read this document, or is this a...
I sent it to everybody this morning, I sent it to.
we didn't get it.
And I was just gonna say, if you were gonna present something to the board, maybe picking out like that last key quote from one of the ending of that conversation, and pulling that, because I think to read the whole thing would be...
Oh, I'm not planning on reading the whole thing. I read this whole thing because I wanted to instill in us, in this room, a sense of the spirit of what we're trying to do, which is not work our butts off for months and months and months to do all this stuff and get nowhere.
Did Julia?
I just want to give everyone a suggestion. For 9 years now, John McCowan is frustrated with staff not doing things. Who gets Casey? Get to John and get it on the agenda. John likes Casey. Get it on the agenda.
Everybody likes Casey.
Staff 2 years later still hasn't done this. Will you please bring it forward? And I almost guarantee he will. This is his pet peeve. staff doesn't do what they're supposed to do.
You had some.
A couple of things. First of all, for the Coastal Commission, I was in contact with the governor's office, we got in touch with the Coastal Commission. They said they're waiting for Mendocino County to present something. When I talked to the county's saying, we're waiting for the Coastal Commission to tell us what they want. All they have to do is present what's already drafted, and then let them comment on it. They probably approve it. That's what the Commission. I can show you the email from the
We believe it.
Secondly, groundwater. We spent 3.5 hours with the State Water Board up in Sacramento. They are, we talked with them about the SACs because it's so checkerboard there. They said they heard something about it. I told them that the other state agencies were a default to approval. You send a letter, and if they don't respond in 60 days, it defaults to approval. They said, that's a great idea. We're going to work on that.
Who did you meet with? It would be great for us to follow up.
Dan, who's the head of the water board, as far as rights, and along with Sam Cole, I think his name was. But
That's like all state environmental agencies. If you haven't heard anything from 30 days, it's automatically approved. And if you haven't heard anything within 60 days, then it's moving forward. No problemo.
So steps. We kind of a not a big finish here, but as far as this project's kind of been the focus for the last few meetings. This project, and this kind of been all encompassing for many of you. I'd like to think about where we go next. The ordinance is quickly. I mean, it's obviously a very fluid thing, and by the next time we meet will be, let's see, June 7th is the first. Is that a Thursday? 7th would be the next first Thursday of a month.
Can the microbusiness subcommittee do that?
Can I just,
let's keep kind of rolling. How we want to decide, and I don't want us to try to decide in the next 5 minutes. Do we want to, over the course of the month, what is changing, what possible changes could happen with the ordinance, and then kind of weigh in a few weeks before the next meeting and agenda from that?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because
the last thing that I was going to say was that Sue and I have been invited by Lori Ajax to come and meet her and her staff to discuss microbusinesses. So after the meeting, I should have a lot to report.
Okay. All right. So towards the last week of the month or so of May, I'm going to get with all of you by email and just ask you for ideas for the and kind of what are we looking at next, what still seems to be stalled, et cetera, and go from there.
Let people know that one thing you could do is look at the original list of priorities. This was originally written for the state changes, but we also included some of the local ordinance changes, and some of them have already been dealt with, some of them are in the process of being dealt with, but that might be a good reference point. Not that new ideas can't come, but we do have a consolidated list that you were kind enough to hand out to us again, either last meeting or this meeting.
Thank you. That's a good idea. Well?
Kelly and us, was it earlier this morning, working group with Track and Trace, and remember we had talked about the A&M, and that we didn't talk about the
Okay. Okay. Are you at this next meeting?
And the other,
I know you'll be okay. I mean, that sounds horrible. It sounded horrible.
also, I just wanted to briefly do this announcement that I am looking at the agenda for Tuesday right now, just so you know the order that it's listed. 5, hold on. Actually, there's 3 in a row. There's 5C is the cannabis update as long with code enforcement. I'm sorry, my eyes aren't good. That was 5E, sorry. 5F is the amendment regarding the facilities, meaning non-cultivation, which is now not going to be a first read, but could be a discussion. And then 5G is the state requirements and local ordinance amendments working group presentation.
All right.
On the one hand, we go at the end of all the cannabis stuff, which means we've used up some of our appetite with the supervisors. On the
been liking to end no later
I've
than
got another
5:30.
idea too. Maybe do the presentation of the slides before reading the document, because that'll wake them up and get them engaged. Just thought.
I definitely agree with that.
And then do the findings, the reading of the findings.
Do the presentation, hit the recommended. I think even skip I personally think skip the findings. They have it in their packet, they read it, do the presentation. Because the presentation essentially hits the findings, do the presentation and hit the recommended actions, and then ask if there's any questions based on the findings.
What do you think, Sarah?
Well, I agree with Casey. There to be said, and if you look in context, that this is going to be a block of like 4 hours. So I think as much as you can be engaging as possible and get your point across, that would be good. And and I think maybe you could have option 1, option 2, and kind of get the feel of where the board's at after the micro business, because depending on how they're doing, maybe you want to do the findings and the presentation and the recommendations or however. But if it was a long public comment or a lot of dialogue back and forth and it was like real intense, you might want to go upbeat, distinct. So I think you just kind of have to maybe have 2 options in your pocket, and then after the item, kind of say, where are we at, what time is it, that kind of thing.
I know Dan, and he just confirmed for us to meet tomorrow, and I just wanted to know, I think, I want to wait until we have this prepared, and I just want to know if anyone in the group wants me to discuss anything to do with the science that I already know about.
Yes, scheduling the cannabis items first thing in the afternoon as opposed to late in the day. Or starting in the morning and then breaking for lunch so that they're not burnt out when we come back from lunch. If they could start on it in the morning and really, because there's going to be a lot, and there's going to be a fraying of nerves and an exhaustion level that we've seen at the last 3 board meetings, and we need to be able to get through all of it, all these different topics.
The intention is to try to focus him on this as one of the most important issues in the county. Having business licenses that can't be transferred.
Yeah,
Totally
and I think he's in support of that.
You
I
think that
I want him to do what you're saying, is come back to it and make it a mission. And I'm not personal.
you can request him to take the item earlier.
Yeah,
He is the chair.
I know. So,
Not time.
Sure, you can request that he does this item earlier.
Maybe 4 micro businesses.